We have our floor done, as you saw in the last video. We are now ready to start putting our plywood flooring down, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop our chalk lines. And in order to do that, we have to measure the width of our plywood here and get that measurement on that end of the building, get it on that end of the building, and pop a chalk line down through there. Guys, it doesn't matter how accurate you try to lay plywood, if you do it without popping a chalk line, you're going to get it crooked. So you might as well just take the time and pop a chalk line and do it right. Okay guys, we're putting down our plywood now. We've got our line popped. We're keeping the grooved edge with the line. Now one of the things you want to keep in mind when you're putting plywood down, I don't screw mine and glue it down when I put it down, because this could likely get wet, and if it does and you've already screwed and glued it completely down, it'll expand and contract, and what it does is it causes the plywood to have spaces in it that might squeak. I've learned over the years of doing this. So I take the nails and I just roughly tack it with nails until the house is completely built. Then if it rains on it, it has room to expand and contract without actually pulling it loose from the flooring. I've never really had a lot of luck on first floor, like basement floors like this on a house with the glue and it holding really well. Now when I do second floors on houses where it's already dried in, I do glue it and screw it there as I go. But here, I don't never put the nail right out here along the edge. When I'm tacking it down, I put my nail about 6 to 7 inches back here. Because if you put your nail right out here, what happens is you create a wavy edge on the edge of the plywood, and when you go to put your next sheet of plywood in, it makes it difficult to get that sheet of plywood in, where if you put your nails back here away from this joint, when you put your next sheet in, the plywood has room to give and the sheet will slide in a whole lot easier. So that's kind of one of my tips on putting this down, is don't nail the groove edge within, say, I'm gonna say 7 inches of it, because it makes it a whole lot easier to put the next sheet in. Okay guys, one thing I failed to mention, anytime you're putting down OSB subflooring, always leave a 1/8 inch gap between it for expansion and contraction, because it's going to get damp. When it does, it's going to swell and you don't want it to buckle. So if you leave that 1/8 inch gap through there, you don't have to worry about it buckling so much. And plus, they kind of pre-take that into consideration, because the sheet is not a true 8 foot long. It's an 1/8 of an inch short of 8 foot, so they kind of took that into consideration. Okay guys, with the OSB flooring, one thing you want to understand is that it has a slick side and it has a rough side. It's designed for the slick side to go down, the rough side to go up. And also we've cut one in half here. We did that because these are 8-foot sheets and we don't want to put all of our seams in one place across the floor, so we're going to go 8, 4, 8, 4 across this thing. So we cut a 4-foot sheet to be the next starting point, and you always want your cut edge to be to the outside, your factory edge to the inside. And we're going to flip this one over. And we're going to get up here. It's all tongue and groove, so we're going to try to get this thing lined up as best as we can. We shouldn't have to pop any more lines after this because we got the first line straight. These should all just go in line and fit like they're supposed to. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of wood. This is just a scrap piece of wood. We're going to come over here. We're going to lay it down against this because we don't want to hammer against our edge of our wood there. We just want to lightly tap it. We want to make sure we have to get you to stand on this. Okay, we're in. Just want to make sure we get it tapped in. You'll feel it when it gets there. It'll give kind of like a little bounce to it. That means that we're there. You want to always make sure that your gap doesn't have something in it that's preventing it from going in all the way. It looks like we're seated up pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and we're good and flush on the end out here. So we're going to go ahead and tack this one down and get her nailed. Okay guys, we've got all the flooring down now. As you can see, it's all been put down, and we left the piece off by the fireplace because there's no need in us putting it on until we get ready to put the fireplace in. We can frame the walls of the house and then come back and frame this later. We just want to get the house framed in, get this covered up with plastic. But I want to show y'all something about what I was telling you about. These sheets are not a full 4 foot wide. This house is exactly 16 feet wide, and when we do, these are supposed to be 4 foot sheets. When you come over to the edge, and we left all the correct spacing and everything, and you can see all the way down through here, even though we left the 1/8 inch spacing that it called for, these are not true 4 foot wide sheets. These are actually 47 and 5/8 inch, and they don't and we've got like 1 inch and 5/8 left over here. We got to go rip a whole sheet into 1 inch and 5/8 strips all the way down through here and nail on that, just so we can finish filling in here. I don't know why they won't give you a full 4 foot sheet. It's so aggravating, but it is what it is. So we have the floor, guys. We're ready to start popping chalk lines and getting the layout. Okay guys, we're going to start laying out the walls. These are 2x4 walls. What we'll do is come from the outside edge of our joists here. We'll come in 3.5 inches here, and we're going to put a little mark. That's where we're going to set our chalk line across, and we're going to pop our chalk lines. Okay guys, we got our lines popped on the building here. You can see all the way down. They're popped all the way to the end. And we have our cross lines popped for our walls in there. I know they may be a little difficult to see, but we've got all of them popped. You can, as we walk up here, you can see we've got our bathroom wall popped here. Now we're going to make these walls permanent on the plywood, and the way you do that is with clear lacquer. Okay guys, we've got the floor down. You can see we're rolling the plastic here. This is 6 mil clear plastic. We're doing this because we have literally 10 days of rain coming up here at Deepsouth Homestead, and we don't want our wood floor to be exposed to 10 days of rain with nothing covering it. That's one reason we decided to go with this heavy plastic, was because we're actually going to leave this plastic down and build on top of it, because you can see where we've popped the lines in it at through the plastic. We feel like that that's probably our safest bet right now with all this rain moving in. We don't want to be left sitting out here with our floor getting wet and swelling all up during this time. Now we do realize that under the plastic it may sweat some and get some moisture underneath it, but we're hoping that that is minimal, because it's going to be cloudy and rainy for the next 10 days. So we're hoping that maybe this will help to salvage our floor as much as possible. And then when we build on top of it and we get through, we'll actually come back and just cut the plastic loose and just leave it up under the plates. We won't actually worry about it being a problem at that point. And then you'll notice here, and once we get the plastic stretched out, the weather was extremely good to us because it had been really windy, and the wind actually laid down long enough for us to get this plastic pulled over the slab. And what we done was went back, we took some scrap pieces of wood, we nailed them down in key places to help hold the plastic down. And once we've got started, on the outside of it here, it wasn't really hard at all. We basically just went around it and kind of figured where our wood would work at around the outside edges, and we got it put on. And guys, it worked out really wonderful. Our slab, our floor has held up well. So thank y'all from Deepsouth Homestead.